song that let's see here. I need to hit a button. Got it. Okay. I'd like to share with you this song of Swami Kriyananda. I'm here at my cave at Ananda Village, and it's entitled, "Of His Dreams, Our Love Was Made." It's it's a children's song, but it's very philosophical. And the words are many, and I'm going to say the words first, then I'll play the song for you. God is our Father, our Mother too. God is our dearest treasure. God's ever near, the one friend who loves us without any measure. Of his dreams, our love was made. Only from him is love repaid. Let us in gladness all live for him. Serve him in every season. Serve him with thought, with hand and limb. Love him without any reason. God befriends us as we are. Fools we that hold his love afar. God is our Father, our Mother too. God is our dearest treasure. God's ever near, the one friend who loves us without any measure. Of his dreams our love was made. Only from him is love repaid. Let us with gladness all live for him. Serve him in every season. Serve him with thought, with hand and limb. Love him without any reason. God befriends us as we are. Fools we that hold his love afar. Now we'll do a chant that Swamiji wrote, and then we'll go into meditation with a chant of Master's words, "Reveal thyself." That's an add-on, Kelly. I hope you forgive me. Anyway, this chant is in your songbooks. I will always think of thee. Again, there's a lot of words here, so pull out your chant books, folks. I will always think of thee. Every morning when I greet the sun, when I move forth through crowded ways, in my heart, Lord, ever so silently, I will always think of thee. When I laugh, oh, and when I cry with pain, when my best friends misunderstand, in my heart, Lord, ever so silently, I will always think of thee. And the refrain of the song goes, "Dear God, my God, I am thine for eternity. Dear God, my God, I am thine eternally." Every morning when I greet the sun, when I move forth through crowded ways, in my heart, Lord, ever so silently, I will always think of thee. In my heart, Lord, ever so silently, I will always think of thee. When I laugh, oh, and when I cry with pain, when my best friends misunderstand, in my heart, Lord, ever so silently, I will always think of thee. In my heart, Lord, ever so silently, I will always think of thee. Dear God, my God, I am thine for eternity. Dear God, my God, I am thine eternally. Though thy path lead me over desert sand, though it take me through bitter storms, in my heart, Lord, ever so silently, I will always think of thee. In my heart, Lord, ever so silently, I will always think of thee. When I'm working in your inert repose, let come victory or low defeat. In my heart, Lord, ever so silently, I will always think of thee. In my heart, Lord, ever so silently, I will always think of thee. Dear God, my God, I am thine for eternity. Dear God, my God, I am thine eternally. Dear God, my God, I am thine for eternity. Dear God, my God, I am thine eternally. Now we'll go into meditation with this chant of Yogananda's Paramhansa Guruji, door of my heart. Door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. Door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. Wilt thou come, wilt thou come, just for once come to me. Wilt thou come, wilt thou come, just for once come to me. Will my days fly away without seeing thee, my Lord? Will my days fly away without seeing thee, my Lord? Night and day, I look for thee, night and day. Night and day, I look for thee, night and day. Night and day, I look for thee, night and day. Night and day, I look for thee, night and day.
Let's sit up straight. Maybe lift the shoulders and send them down the back. Palms are upward, receiving the divine grace in the hip creases. Draw the energy into your open heart chakra and lift the energy to the spiritual eye. Call on God, reveal thyself, reveal thyself. Feel that beautiful heart opening, door of my heart, open wide and lift to the spiritual eye and really lock it in. Really hold your attention there with unwavering witness perception. Let's watch that beautiful natural breath and allow the mantra Hong Sa to be breathed into the inhale and exhale. Affirm the truth of who you are. I am spirit. Hong Sa. We'll meditate together for 5 minutes. We'll listen to this week's Quality of the Week from Swami Kriyananda's Affirmations for Self-Healing.
This week's affirmation is about income. Money should be seen as an energy flow, not as something, excuse me, not as something that can be hoarded. For when money is treated as a material reality, it blocks one's creative flow. Money, like matter, is only frozen energy. Energy is what creates matter. It is energy that forever moves, changes, and dissolves matter. Matter untouched by energy is inert. If you need to increase your income, know that the energy you put out is more important than specific schemes for earning. Energy will attract opportunity. Recharge your energy from its cosmic source, and whatever income you need will be ever yours. Please repeat the healing affirmation loudly at first to command the full attention of your conscious mind. The treasury of the infinite is mine.
The treasury of the infinite is mine.
For its wealth is energy, and I am energy.
For its wealth is energy, and I am energy.
Now please repeat it quietly to absorb more deeply the meaning of the words. The treasury of the infinite is mine.
The treasury of the infinite is mine.
For its wealth is energy, as I am energy.
For its wealth is energy, and I am energy.
Now in a whisper with even greater energy, carrying its meaning down into the subconscious, the treasury of the infinite is mine.
The treasury of the infinite is mine.
For its wealth is energy, and I am energy.
For its wealth is energy.
Now silently, to deepen your absorption of it at the subconscious level, the treasury of the infinite is mine. For its wealth is energy, and I am energy. Now at last, with rising aspiration, repeat the affirmation at the spiritual eye inwardly, without moving lips or tongue. The treasury of the infinite is mine. For its wealth is energy, and I am energy. The prayer. O mighty fountain of infinite light, from whose spray the countless galaxies are made, let me wash away my worldly ambition in thy waters. Let me bathe in radiant and the eddies of thy energy. Thou art my wealth, thou my treasure, thou my security. Om. Peace. Amen.
Thank you. And now Shannon will read from Rays of the One Light.
Rays of the One Light, weekly commentary on the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita. Week 20, activity versus inner communion. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it and your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda. Last week, we contemplated the well-known story of Martha and Mary. Traditionally, this story has been offered to show the two classic approaches to salvation, the first through action and the second through prayer. The excuse of the Marthas is of this world has been, the church needs its Marthas too. Treaties, moreover, have been written to justify the Martha approach to piety, praising her self-sacrifice as perhaps an even higher demonstration of devotion. Thus do the unmeditative in religion try to justify themselves. Yet the fact remains that Jesus rebuked Martha. Elsewhere, moreover, he spoke of the virtue of feeding the hungry, curing the sick, and housing those who were homeless. It wasn't that he disapproved of serving. Wrong attitude was the object of his criticism. What he was criticizing was forgetfulness of the true goal of right spiritual action. Good deeds, outwardly, without inner communion with God, will result in good karma, but will not bring final freedom from all karma. The path to inner freedom was described by Paramhansa Yogananda in these words: be always calmly active and actively calm. As it says in the Bhagavad Gita, the 2nd chapter, he who is not shaken by anxiety during times of sorrow, nor elated during times of happiness, who is free from egoic desires and their attendant fear and anger, such a one is of steady discrimination. Do your duty in life, so counsels this great scripture everywhere, but never lose sight of him to whom all action should be dedicated. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind.
So today we discover inner freedom. And we ask the question, how do we live in inner communion? How do we not forget God? How do we always remain in the beauty of God's love with our hearts open and our perception held outward? Because the only happiness is awareness of the presence of God. And we are guided today to hold onto the truth that God's the most important thing in our life. Above everything else, God is the most important thing in our life. And that we have to keep God in our hearts and keep our hearts open. You know, sometimes when I'm feeling disconnected, I will just say, I love you, God, in my heart. And it just automatically begins to just naturally open and pray to remember that you have forgotten, Yogananda says. Just realize that a prayer to say, please, God, help me not to forget you today. Help me to hold you close to me as much as possible, and more and more and more. That capacity to hold our hearts open, to hold ourselves in the presence of the beloved grows stronger and stronger every day. And every time I lead Sunday service, I feel I go through a process. And I would like to share with you a little bit before I read from the Whispers that I was decided to take Thursdays off. It's Guru Thursdays, and I decided to take one day off that would just be for me and God. And so I'm working on Mondays in the morning, and so I have this whole day to myself. So the first Thursday, it was a beautiful day, and I said, oh my God, I think I'm going to spend the time with you in the woods. So I went hiking in this new trail I went to that was beautiful with a waterfall. And for me, spirituality and God is so accessible in nature and in the woods. And so I spent 3 hours with my puppies there and sat and meditated by the stream. It was so beautiful. And then I went home and had this beautiful lunch and rest. And then I went kayaking. And I was chanting, oh God, beautiful, and I am the bubble, make me the sea, and my kayak in North Kingstown. I was like, this is amazing, God. And at the end of the day, I was like, I want to remember this resonance, right? I want to remember how it feels this day. And so the next Thursday, I woke up and I said, okay, I know the formula for success. I'm going to get up, I got to do my hike, then I'm going to have lunch, and then I will, go kayaking. And I went into my meditation space and I did my energization and my breathing. And I really found that the activity had nothing to do with really the feeling that I was wanting to feel. I wanted to feel God deeply in my heart. I wanted to feel like we were best friends and that we were spending the day together in this joyful connection. And so I just listened and then, the day just unfolded. And, that's the flow of grace that God gives us, that beautiful gift God gives us, of the flow of grace. And I ended up planting flowers with God. And, we went to Walmart and got some new curtains and stuff. And we had a different kind of day, but it was the essence of the day. And so this activity that we're doing doesn't really matter what we're doing. What really matters is that in each thing that we do, we're bringing the connection, we're bringing inner communion, we're bringing the open heart and that staying power to hold ourselves in that divine connection. And so it just says it all in this poem. So I wanted to read to you, God, God, God. And this is just a beautiful, beautiful poem from Whispers from Eternity that really accentuates the power of living in inner communion. From the depths of slumber, as I ascend the spiral stairway of wakefulness, I will whisper, God, God, God. Thou art the food, and when I break my fast of nightly separation from thee, I will taste thee and mentally say, God, God, God. No matter where I go, the spotlight of my mind will ever keep turning to thee. And in the battle din of activity, my silent war cry will be, God, God, God. When boisterous storms of trials shriek, and when worries howl at me, I will drown their noises loudly chanting, God, God, God. When my mind weaves dreams of threads of memories, then on the magic cloth will I emboss, God, God, God. And every night in time of deepest sleep, my peace dreams and calls, joy, joy, joy. And my joy comes singing evermore, God, God, God. And waking, eating, working, dreaming, sleeping, serving, meditating, chanting, and divinely loving, my soul will constantly hum, unheard by any, God, God, God. God is our only salvation. In this conditional, changing, oftentimes chaotic and mean world, our only salvation is to rise our inner perception and to look at him and lock him in and hold him there. And God is the only answer. As Master says in this beautiful poem, God, 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 the qualities of wakefulness are the most important, to bring our mind and turning back to him as the storms and trials shriek. And as we realize that this is just God's dream, mentally chanting, God, God, God. And the answer is to keep God ever present in the waking, in the eating, in the sleeping and dreaming. Our soul inwardly must really keep finding that vibration of God, God, God. What happens is when we just keep tuning in, that mantra will just keep overtaking us, that will just keep humming within us, and we can just follow that lead. So this is about being awake in God. And a beautiful example of that from Autobiography of a Yogi is the great Swami Trilanga. And he was definitely awake in God. He was a Jivan Mukta, and he lived wakeful, free from all egoic desires, and in this amazing freedom and flow of grace. And he never lost sight of God, always holding it. What a beautiful divine example for us that Yogananda shared. And he was quite a character. You know, he was 300 years old and as many pounds as years. And so at 300 pounds, I remember in India going to his house and they had a life-size Swami Trilanga that you meditated to. And you just felt like this little thing, you know, it's just this big example. And, you know, his ashram was just so infused with divine blessings. I just remember what a beautiful, beautiful day that was. Swami Trilanga was famous. He was famous for all his miraculous, so many blessings and miracles followed him wherever he went. You know, Yogananda said that as Jesus today walked down New York City performing miracles, that's the kind of crowd and excitement that Trilanga, that's the kind of excitement that he found in Benares when he walked down the road in his Benares town of India. And so some days he just floated on the Ganges for days. Sometimes he walked back to the beach and came back and he just floated again. Sometimes he just sat at the bottom of the ocean for days, at the bottom of the Ganges for days, and just meditated at the bottom of the water. And he had this incredible power to just, have this incredible presence and hold it. He was so awake in God, Yogananda said, that he realized the world as an idea in the divine mind, right? An idea of God's. So that God could share his joy and bliss and help us to see this life purpose of awakening. And so, he was a natural person. And so he would walk around mostly in the nude. And the police found him very, very like a nuisance child. They found him difficult, and they would come and they would get him, they would put him in jail. And to their complete embarrassment, they would find him floating up top the jail with the jail cells still locked. He would just be meditating on top of the building of the jail, and they would just be eventually they just looked away because they just felt so embarrassed. But he just was always performing these incredible miracles. And one time a skeptic, really challenged him and said, how can this be real? How can this be really true that this saint could live this way? And so he decided to test Swami Trilanga, and he gave him some milk infused with poison, with lime. And so he offered it to him. Please, Guruji, please take this offering. And he drank the whole thing, every drop, Swami Trilanga. And all of a sudden, the skeptic fell to his back and just started screaming in agony, help me, sir, help me, I'm dying of this poison. Swami Trilanga, he was often very, very silent. He never needed to speak, but he broke his silence to say this important message. You did not realize that when you tried to poison me, that my life is one with your own. Except for my knowledge that God is present in my stomach, as in every atom of creation, I would have been killed. Now that you know the divine meaning of boomerang, never try to hurt anyone again. This is the law of justice. And in so many ways, he's setting that example. Sometimes we can send out a thought, or we may feel hurt or a slight, and we have a feeling towards somebody. It's really important to take that ownership and know that that person shares the same God that we have, that God lives within all of us, and that we can't hurt another person without hurting ourselves. And it really, the more present we are, the more the gap closes. And if we send out a mean thought to someone, then they treat us mean, it comes right back at us. And we really have to see sometimes our ego will say, well, see, I knew that person wasn't really nice. But truly what was our thoughts created that reality, created that energy, that drawback, that boomerang effect. And understanding the divine boomerang is really important so that we keep our hearts open and are not giving anyone the poison of our negative thoughts, but always giving the ambrosia of our open heart and our divine mind. So Swami Trilanga, he lived the dream. He did. He just lived in this absolute sense of beingness. He did this by disidentifying with the dream world. That, Yogananda said, this isn't so serious. We get really caught up in things and we get worked up and we get reactive. But if we rise above it, we really see, this probably won't bother me in a few days or months or years. This is just a test for me to see, can I bring my divine mind? Can I see past this dream world and get past the drama of reactivity? Yogananda said it so well. He said, life is God's dream, and life teaches you to believe it is real, but we have to eat and sleep and all the things that we feel compelled to do. And we develop crazy habits, and crazily we're dreaming different limitations on our consciousness. We step into bad habits, ruts, and bad dreams of wrong behavior. It's not real. Think how much time we spend catering to the body. More suffering, says Yogananda. We keep attaching to this dream form. And remember his definition of ego. It's the soul's attachment to the body. You make your problems with body and behavior real, which causes more suffering. But as soon as you realize, says Yogananda, that God is everything in the universe, nothing hurts you anymore. If you realize that both water and the body are dreams of God, truly then you will be able to walk on water or sit at the bottom of the Ganges. It's all God's motion pictures. So don't take it so serious. Rise above it. And in Autobiography of a Yogi, the Three Hermits in the Law of Miracles, they speak so beautifully to this. They were just very simply saying this beautiful, beautiful prayer. We are three, thou art three, have mercy on us. But they said the prayer with such such devotion and such heart opening to God. And so the bishop heard that this prayer and these hermits were giving, there was amazing miracles that were happening on this island. The bishop thought, I better come out. I better teach them the traditional prayers, the appropriate prayers, and they got to memorize them and learn them. So he went out there with that mission and he taught the three hermits the prayers, and then he was off on his boat. And all of a sudden, the three hermits, realizing they forgot the prayers, they ran out onto the water, running right on top of the water to the boat that the bishop was on. And they said, Bishop, I'm sorry, but we forgot our prayers. And the bishop, seeing that they had walked on the water, had said, continue to live with your own prayer. That is the law of miracles. And through God communion, we're developing a miracle consciousness. We're seeing beyond the problems of this world. We're seeing beyond the separateness and all the ways that, politics and issues that are coming up that trying to separate us. But we see that, no, we're all sharing presence of God together. We're all in this together as one. But, it takes great spiritual effort, says Yogananda. There's a great formula for success, for spiritual success, and it's 25% our effort, 25% the guru, and 50% God. And that 100% is said to give us that capacity to really keep connecting and keep reconnecting and then holding that connection as all the saints did in the presence of God. But that 25%, we got to give it our everything. We got to give it our whole hearts and mind. We have to keep remembering and remembering that we're forgetting, and then bringing ourselves back over and over and over again. We must make a supreme effort to know God. That's why we're here today. There's no coincidence. Everyone who's here and listening out there, we are heard. We are here to hear this message. We are here to remember it. I feel so blessed by leading this service, because since I read the reading, the last 2.5 weeks, I've just keep opening my heart over and over and realizing when I'm suffering, I've disconnected, that I can stay actively calm and calmly active more and more and more. Although I do have to say that I was riding down the road yesterday and a bunny was hit in the road. And then there was another bunny walking around it, missing its beloved. And I was just like, and just, I could feel my heart. And I was just realizing, my God, my sensitivity is so strong. It's really hard to live in this insensitive world and keep our hearts open and keep connecting, and I even asked, why God, but then I just kind of brought it up and allowed it to move through. But the important thing is that when our heart does hurt, to integrate those feelings, to not let them bottle up, to not suppress them, so that, because that's the fuel that creates more and more reactivity that blocks our capacity to stay calm. And so Yogananda says we are players and must play our parts well, but disidentify with the drama. Meditation shows us the way to inner freedom. And meditation is how we rise above delusion to know our true nature. If you can hold onto this consciousness in activity, as well as meditation, then you arise above this dream world and live with God. And so Krishna told a beautiful story, and he began it with this preface: he who cannot be ruffled who is calm and even-minded during pain and pleasure. They alone are fit for everlastingness. So this quality of calmness, is one of the 8 aspects of God. There's joy, there's power, there's light, there's love, there's peace, there's wisdom, there's others that I forgot. And so, but Master shared this story of Krishna and Namdev. And Namdev, he was a saint. He loved God. He tried to keep God in his heart and mind all the time. And he was very well respected and awakened in his community. And also in the village was a saint who was well respected too. And as a trade, he was a potter. You know this story, Inez. And at a satsang, the potter decided to test each devotee as he would in his field as a potter. So a potter will rap on a pot to see if the pot is cracked. No crack here. And by the sound it makes. And so he came around the circle and he was testing each person to see. It was kind of inspired, kind of playful, but inspired because he was a potter and testing to see if, you know, the sound that would come out. And he got to Namdev and he tapped on his head, and Namdev stood up and said, you know, I'm your equal here. How disrespectful. Why did you hit me? Why did you hurt my head? You know, and calmly the potter said, there's a crack in your pot. But you know, like every devotee that gets upset, that gets triggered, you know, he went back to Krishna and said, Lord, show me the way to perfection in God. Show me what do I need to see within myself? You need to meet with this guru who, you know, a lot of people has a reputation. He's a little bit strange. He's a little, you know, not traditional, but you must go and meet with him. He's in that nearby village. And so Namdev set off to meet with him. When he walked into this old cave that the sadhu was in, the great master was in, you know, he was all disheveled and old and just didn't seem like filled with light. And then to his horror, he saw that he was sitting in his feet, and such a disrespect in India, was on the Shiva Linga, which is, you know, a beautiful statue for embodying Shiva, the Shiva energy. And he was horrified. And he said, oh man, get your feet off of that, you know? And the old man said, I'm old, I can't really move. Can you help me? And so he picked him up and he put him somewhere else. And then the Shiva Linga appeared. And then he picked him up another place and it appeared again and again and again. And in a moment, he said, I was blind and now I understand Guru Deva. He realized that everywhere is God and God is everywhere. And to realize him in yourself, said the teacher, and you will transform your vision and behold God residing in all things. So that's our lesson today. We will be transformed when we behold God residing in everything, every situation, and every person. So remember, in closing, we are called today to dedicate every action to God, to stay calmly active and understand. I mean, look at Namdev. He was a great saint. We're not perfect here. We're going to have times when our emotions and we're reactive, but because we're people on a spiritual path, we understand that it's essential that these tests are bringing things up in us, purifying our hearts. It's a purification ceremony. And when it comes up, it's hard to hold. It can tsunami us sometimes, but more and more and more through our willingness to respond, through deeper, ever thirstier meditation on thee, we more and more are able to clear that up. But each one of us, even though, you know, we've dedicated our life to God, we're going to have these upsets. We're going to become reactive. The reactivity leads to calm activity. So more and more we can catch ourselves sooner in the upset and the reactivity, until what happens is automatically we're able to drop right in, use our breath, integrate it, and come out with a beautiful response. More and more that happens through our meditation techniques. And so even a saint is reactive. And so when we awake each day, maybe just a little prayer like, good morning, God, or just something that helps us set that tone for the day. Our first thought, when it thinks of God, it's that law of entrainment, that higher thought and vibration will guide our day and clear away the blocks to us staying and living in that high vibration. And the start of every meditation, lock into the Ajna chakra, lock into the spiritual eye. And because if we can, in the first few seconds, really lock in, we don't seem to get caught up in the mind so much and pulled out. When we sit down, just really do it with willpower and determination, say the prayer and lift your awareness and breathe and watch the breath. And the mantra Hung Sa Yogananda said, never go to bed doing Kriya Yoga. Promise yourself that. Never go to bed without Kriya Yoga. And Hung Sa is baby Kriya. And energization, really important to start the day with that the best you can. You can listen to Swami, you can listen to it, it's on YouTube anytime you want. It's better than an extra large latte and a cinnamon bun with extra frosting. It has so much sweetness, so much energy, this energization exercises. What a beautiful, sweet way to start your day. What a beautiful way, that beautiful prayer infusing God in body and mind and soul. And in waking, sleeping, and eating, working, meditating, chanting, dreaming, and divinely loving, our souls will constantly hum silently, God, God, God.
We will now have our offertory, and the basket is under your chair, Kelly.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, dear. Please take what you would like to give, place it in your right hand, and repeat after me. Divine Mother, we offer to thee the fruit of our labors.
We offer to thee the fruit of our labors.
Bless this offering,
Bless this offering,
that it serve as a channel of thy light
that it serve as a channel of thy
to
light
truth-seeking souls everywhere.
to truth-seeking souls everywhere.
Om.
Oh,
Peace.
peace.
Amen.
Amen.
Let's see, I need to do something here. From the depths of slumber as I ascend the spiral staircase of wakefulness, I will whisper, whisper, God, God, God. Thou art the food, and when I break my fast from nightly separation from thee, I will taste thee and mentally say, God, God, God. No matter where I go, the spotlight of my mind will ever keep turning on thee. And in the battle din of activity, my silent war cry will be, God, God, God. When boisterous storms of trials shriek, and when worries howl at me, I'll drown their noises loudly chanting, God, God, God. When my mind weaves dreams dreaming of threads of memories, on that magic cloth will I emboss, God, God, God. Every night in time of deepest sleep, when my peace dreams they call, joy, joy. And my joy comes singing evermore. God, God, God. In waking, eating, working, dreaming, sleeping, serving, meditating, chanting, divinely loving, my soul will constantly hum unheard by any. God, God,